Yep. Okay, good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and start the board meeting. First item is welcome and introduction, so I welcome all of you that are here. I saw a few of you on the screen. I actually am here at the Utopia offices, although it looks like I'm in my puffy coat in the woods somewhere. It's just actually a little cold here at the Utopia building because Roger's being a good steward and everybody else is happily, dealing with a little bit of cooler temperature here in the building as they save money on utilities. So good for them, those guys. Let's see here. So item number 2, approval of minutes. Does anybody have any question on the minutes? And if not, can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Hey, Wayne, if I could just jump in real quick here. Oh, actually, never mind. I apologize. I didn't see the link up on the website just yet, but it does appear that it's there now.
Okay.
Wayne, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thanks, Kane. We have a motion to approve the minutes for Midvale. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. This is Debbie from Orem.
Debbie, thank you very much. All in favor of approving the minutes of October 19th, if you'd just unmute or wave or say aye.
Aye.
And is there anybody opposed? Aye. If not, the minutes are approved and a unanimous vote. We'll move on to item number 3, which is consider approval of resolution UT 20-04, establishing an audit committee. Lori?
Thank you. The resolution to approve and establish an audit committee was discussed at the October board meeting. The suggestion was made by the board that we stagger terms so that the members rotate off of the board. The current resolution establishes 4-year terms with 2 of the members currently appointed ending their term in 2 years, so that every 2 years there will be an option for new audit committee members to be added. That's the only change that we made to the October resolution.
Very good. Questions on the either changes or for Lori or about the audit committee item?
I have one question. Can, if someone serves a term, can they do another term after that? Is there a maximum terms they can serve, or do they have to roll off?
Thank you. We didn't specify that number of terms. I'm sorry, the number of terms that they can serve. We wanted to allow people to serve an additional term if they wanted to, partly because as board member Roberts reported in October, it's actually kind of tricky to get people to serve on this committee. It is a time commitment, and there's been some good continuity with the board members. We would welcome additional participation from other cities, but I feel like limiting the total number of terms might be problematic down the road.
Just wanted to find out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Good question. Okay, anybody want to make a motion to approve resolution UT 20-04?
I can do that. I move that we approve resolution, let me pull up my thing, 20-4, establishing the audit committee for Utopia.
Second, Tom.
Thank you, Debbie. And a second from Tom Peterson. Very good. Thank you, Tom. I think this one needs a roll call vote, if I'm correct. Krista, you want to run through that?
Sure. Debbie Luray.
Aye.
Adam Cowie.
Aye.
Kane Motor.
Aye.
Sean Warmke.
Aye.
Thomas Peterson.
Aye.
Mayor Camp.
Aye.
Robin Meekum.
Aye.
Clint Morris.
Aye.
Todd Christensen.
Aye.
Wayne Pyle.
Aye. All right, very good. That item is approved also unanimously. Let's move on to item number 4. and I will turn the time over to Roger for this.
All right, so a little history here. This was at our budget meeting when we approved it for this fiscal year. We had included an item that was an employee pay increase into the budget. It was basically a combination COLA / merit, so it was merit-based, but dual purpose to also cover increased cost of living. It was a 3% proposed for the employees. We did approve the budget, but we said we were going to withhold payment of that to kind of see how things went, to reconsider this at a later date. There was the fear at the time of sales tax revenues or other economic problems. And so I think a lot of cities had also either deferred or held on to that in their own cities. And so I think there was a desire to hold on to that and see how things played out. So here we are in December. From Utopia's perspective, the revenues have been fantastic. So there's no negative impact as far as financial that would cause us, you know, from a financial perspective, there's no reason to withhold that. We've kind of looked to cities to see what they've done, because we are part of that. We understand their burden to cities with the Utopia debt obligations. But from an employee compensation perspective, what we've seen is kind of a mix of things. I think most cities have put into place those increases. Some of them have done it in a retroactive basis, and some of them have done it as of some date moving forward. My personal opinion, and obviously I get no vote, but as executive director, you know, I definitely see the workings of Utopia and the burden. We've been very busy. We did not anticipate, obviously nobody did, the impact of COVID. In our business, that increased our work significantly. And so we've had a lot of installations. We had set a target goal of, I think, 7,000 new signups for this year, which would have been our best year ever. And we are on track to exceed 10,000 this year. And so each installation takes work, right? It's us working, installing equipment, acquiring equipment, configuring that equipment, monitoring that equipment, installing everything associated with building out the network and installing customers is what we do. And it's been a good year. We're really, really happy for the progress that's been made. But that has been a burden, and I think that the employee base has done a phenomenal job. I think had we been on track for 7,000 customers, I think you know, the annual increase would have been more than warranted. At 10,000, I think I would say that I'm really, really hoping. I'm very, very appreciative of the employees and them, you know, stepping up and doing what was required to keep on top of that. There's not been any complaints like, hey, we signed up and we're waiting months because Utopia's behind. You know, we've actually stayed ahead of schedule on the build out and been able to increase capacity for installations and getting everything in place. So everything has gone very, very well. So my ask and my hope, and then this is obviously for your consideration as the board to approve that, but we wouldn't be revising the budget. It would simply be approving the release of the funds that have already been budgeted for. And really it's your decision, but that would be either on a today moving forward basis or on a retroactive to handle the fiscal year. And that would have been, that's July 1st of this year until today. It would just be that period of time. And that would be, you know, my ask, would hope for that, but that's your decision. So that's the background. Does anyone have any questions on that before we go to discussion with the board? Like anything for me particularly?
So this is Debbie. I was originally concerned because, you know, I didn't know sales tax for my own city. I can tell you in Orem, we have released our merit bonuses. I think it was November. We did a 1% cost of living in July, and then we waited to see what our sales tax would be. We've actually held strong thanks to the Costco's and the car sales. So we have released our 3%. So I'm comfortable now moving forward based on my city's experience. I don't know what other cities are doing. But I'm comfortable releasing the budgeted employee compensation at this point, where before I wasn't.
This is Robin Meekum. I'm also comfortable. I was one of the ones that was against it, and I'm from Centerville, and we have released our increases to our employees now. So.
And this is Clint from Layton, and we were in a similar spot. We did the same thing. We kind of held off, and we've since released that. And I believe we also did that retroactive to July.
Midvale is also in the same condition. We're asking our city council to approve employee increases next month and make it retroactive. So I, as one board member, would support moving forward with this and releasing those funds.
So a question, Roger, is
Chairman,
was there a COLA that would have gone in place and starting July 1st, and then merit, is that in July for Utopia, or is that in January?
The way we've handled it is that it's a merit increase only, but it's sized roughly to a COLA. So we don't treat it as two separate things.
Okay.
We do employee reviews, and it's not automatic that everybody gets the 3%, but based on a positive outcome of the review, would be eligible for the 3%. And so I don't know offhand if it was 100% of our employee bases that were approved for the 3%. I don't think it was, but that would be the maximum amount that would be allocated. And
so does that take place in a typical year? Does that take place in July or January? July. Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm comfortable with a retroactive implementation of that so that employees can receive that full year given the financials of Utopia. Linden City experienced, like the other cities have mentioned, a great fiscal year, better than we would have ever expected 6 months ago. So.
Okay, thanks, Adam. I think I heard somebody else about to make a comment.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is Tom Peterson with Brigham City. I would just make a motion that we move forward with Roger's recommendation to go back to July 1st with the pay raises that Roger felt were adequate for the employees.
Very good. I would accept that motion. I did have a procedural question first. Just looking at the agenda, I'm not sure this actually requires formal action of the board. It's not a resolution. It's not an ordinance or anything. Krista and or Josh, anybody have any comment on that? Do we actually need to have a formal motion on this, or can I just take the direction of the board?
Dwayne, at the meeting that we had in was it July or October, whenever it was when we discussed this before, we did adopt the budget by resolution. So a resolution isn't necessary at this point. The minutes did reflect that the board was interested in having the opportunity to vote on the release of funds when that did come back to the board. So because of that, my recommendation would be that a vote is held, but just a simple motion would be adequate for that.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense, and certainly it's good to get that on the record in any event anyway. So why don't we actually take that motion?
Mr. Chair, with that, I would second the motion.
And I was going to ask for a second. Thank you, Kane. Appreciate it. And Krista, let's roll through that also by roll call just for record.
Okay, Debbie Luray.
Aye.
Adam Cowie.
Aye.
Kane Loader.
Aye.
John Warnke.
Aye.
Thomas Peterson.
Aye.
Mayor Camp.
Aye.
Robin Meekum.
Aye.
Clint Morris.
Aye.
Todd Christensen.
Aye.
Wayne Pyle.
Aye. Okay, thank you, everybody. And let's move on to item number 5, which is the 2021 board meeting schedule. If you scroll down to the bottom of your packet, you'll see it is the very last page, shows the dates of the proposed meetings for 2021, which are pretty much as we have seen in the past, board meeting every other month, and there is, let me see, June, July, August, yep, even through the summer, every other month as well. Is there any questions or requests for change to that schedule? And if not, I'd take them, well, wait, this is another one. I don't think we need a motion to approve the schedule, do we?
On this one, Wayne, we've always had the practice of adopting that formally just by motion. So again, my recommendation would be that we do that again.
Okay. All right, very good. Let's go back to my original question. Does the schedule look all right for everybody?
Yes, sir.
And if so, can I have a motion?
I'd make a motion that we approve the schedule as outlined in the agenda packet. This is Tom Peterson.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tom. Do we have a second?
This is Debbie. I'll second it.
Thank you, Debbie. All in favor of adopting the schedule for 2021, please say aye.
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 Aye. Anybody opposed? All right, then the schedule for 2021 is approved. Item number 6 is our annual open and public meetings training. I'll turn the time over to Josh.
Thank you, Wayne. Let me get my PowerPoint here. So I hope that's showing up okay. I know that this is everyone's favorite part of the meeting, obviously, the open meetings training. This is where the good stuff is. And I also appreciate that everybody gets to do this in all of the bodies that you participate in on an annual basis. So I'll do my best to keep it very short and just focus on the things that I think are the most important to keep in mind with the Open Meetings Act. The Act does require that there is the annual training that takes place. Thus, we're working on this right now. I like to try and focus on the things that are new in the Act on an annual basis. This year, there has been actually a fair number of changes that have come through, but fortunately, none of those really impact the way that we do things here at Utopia. Most of those changes had to do with shift to an increased need for electronic participation in meetings, obviously with all of the COVID things happening. As an essential service, Utopia has been able to stay open. We've been able to maintain an anchor location for all of our meetings here at our offices, and so we haven't needed to rely on those new provisions that have been made available to us. But nevertheless, we will be completing our duty and having the training that's required. When I think of the Open Meetings Act, I think there are kind of 3 sets of responsibilities that the Act imposes. The first has to do with the notice for the meetings, things that happen before, the conduct of the meeting itself, and then the things that happen after the meeting, specifically with minutes being recorded and made available to the public. Here at Utopia, we're really fortunate that we have Krista Evans, who takes care of 2 of those 3 categories for us in a really great way, with the notice for the meetings and with making sure that the minutes are recorded and made public. Want to make sure I say thank you to her for her work on that, because it is not a small task and she does a fantastic job with it. As far as the board members are concerned, I think the main focus really, as far as the Meetings Act is concerned, is on the conduct of the meeting itself. And so I'm going to focus on that as we go through just a couple slides here. I always like to start with the intent of the Act, and the legislature has given that to us in Section 102 here. And it all boils down to the idea that the best practices are for actions to be taken openly and for deliberations that precede those actions to be conducted openly as well. When there's questions that come up about whether something should be taking place or how to best comply with the Act, I think we should always fall back on the idea that actions are taken openly and that deliberations are taken openly as well. Because of that, the default position under the Act is that any time that there is a meeting, the default is that meeting is open to the public. And when we're talking about a meeting, we do have the definition from the Act, and I'll read through that just quickly, that it's the convening of a public body or a specified body, which obviously includes the board of Utopia, with a quorum present, including a workshop or an executive session, whether in person or by means of electronic communications, for the purpose of discussing, receiving comments from the public about, or acting upon a matter of which the public body or specified body has jurisdiction or advisory power. Thus, the meeting that we're participating in right now is an open meeting. Now, that default position of an open meeting obviously isn't the only way that a meeting can be conducted, and at times there are meetings that justify a closed session. In order for that to take place, you need to have a quorum present, and in most circumstances, you need to have a 2/3 vote of the body in order to close the meeting. There are some circumstances that can close on just a simple majority, but for the most common circumstances, you need the 2/3 vote. Common grounds for closing a meeting. I'm sure we're familiar with these. We've run into them at different times in different bodies, but just to run through a handful here, we have the discussion of character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual, strategy sessions involving things like imminent litigation or the purchase of real property, discussion about security systems that we might be relying on here at Utopia, or investigative proceedings regarding allegations of criminal misconduct. Fortunately, these don't come up very often for us at Utopia. When they have come up, we've been able to comply with the requirements and go into closed session. It's always my hope that there's not a need for that, but if there is, these are the grounds that we can invoke those protections. One thing that I always like to bring up when I'm talking about open meetings requirements is the statement in section 210, providing that electronic communications between members of a political or a public body are permitted as long as those communications are not happening during the course of the meeting or while the meeting is convened, as the statute asks. I'm sure we've all been in meetings where we've seen that there's kind of the main meeting that's happening, and then you have a side meeting that is maybe less obvious, but definitely taking place. And I would just encourage you to avoid that at all costs. It's not in compliance with the intent of the act and can bring up questions about whether or not the conduct of the meeting was actually open and public to those that were participating. So my encouragement is always, if you have something to say during the course of the meeting, make sure you say that in the open convened meeting and not through some other side channel. Now, the reason that all of this is important, obviously, is that at Utopia, we're doing important things. And when there are actions that are taken in a board meeting, we want those actions to stand up to scrutiny. And we don't want anybody to be able to come in and say that, that whatever steps were taken should be questioned. And in order to avoid those questions, we need to comply with the act. On a lesser level, maybe less of a priority, but still very serious, is that violations of the act can, in a small number of circumstances, constitute a Class B misdemeanor. I only bring that up so that there's no surprises if there is something that came up. But I think the real thing is that we want to make sure that the work that we're doing here is able to move forward and isn't hindered by any problems that happen with the potential violation of the Open Meetings Act. So with that, that's all that I had prepared. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any from the board or from anyone else about the Open Meetings Act.
Oh, sorry, I muted. Again. Questions or comments from anybody on the training? All right, very good. Thank you very much, Josh. Appreciate that, as always. Good reminder. And with that, we'll move on to item number 7, the Utopia financial update, and give the time to Laurie.
Thank you. I want to mention that Brad Patterson from Gilmore Bell is in this meeting with us. We, I know this is UIA, but I know Utopia has interest in all of this. This morning in the UIA meeting, we held a public hearing for the issuance of the bond. The plan is to move ahead with the ratings presentation in January and anticipate the closing of that bond in February. The amount of the par value of the bond is about $50 million. The intent is to use that to build out the remaining Utopia and UIA footprints. With Brad here and available, it would be a good time for questions if any of the board has questions for him.
Questions on the bond or Brad's work with that?
I just have a
If
question.
not,
I just have a question.
yes, Debbie.
I know that we've been looking at some bonds for utilities and we're getting spectacular rates. It seems like the changeover with presidency may not affect the bond rate, but I wanted to know if that's been factored in, you think, to the rates, or do you think we just need to move on this now, knowing that the presidency may or may not make a difference? I'm just wondering his opinion.
Brad?
Yeah, Member Lorray, is that how you see Lorette?
You don't say the
Yes.
T, it's like buffet, it's French.
I apologize. Got a big year coming in and out. I guess I need to have some of the crewmen come over to my house and see what's going on with my internet. I think your question was what's going to happen with the rates with respect to the new. Everything I've heard, and you'll excuse me, I really can't predict it. And every once in a while, I pretend I'm a financial advisor, but in reality, I'm just a lawyer. But the expectation that we've heard is that rates are just pretty much the way they are. It's still the market's still going to be strong in the first quarter of next year, and so I think that we're looking at some pretty favorable rates.
Thank you, Brad. So yes, in case anybody didn't hear that or it was breaking up badly, basically just to interpret, and Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were saying basically to Debbie's question, there shouldn't really be any effect on rate structure based on change in presidency. Is that correct?
So do you feel any urgency to get it done sooner than later, or it's just going to be normal?
I think it'll be. I think the schedule that's been laid out is kind of schedule. I think that the driving need here is not necessarily having need, is just the growth of the organization.
Okay, I know in Orem that there was some urgency to get it done in the first, probably by April. I'm just wondering if that's not the same urgency or. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. That's my question.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Anybody else? All right, then Laura, you want to continue on with the financial report?
Thank you. I need to report that Kelly Somerville resigned her position on December 4th. We will miss her. She's been with Utopia for about 11 years. She got married a couple of years ago, has a 12-year-old son, and she has a brand new baby. So she just felt like it was time for a little change for her. We do have her under contract to help us in the transition, and our accounting and finance staff has really stepped up to make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. We did put together some quotes or some messages from employees and board members and sent those to her. We have picked up a few since we sent all of those to her. So if any of you feel so inclined to send an email with thoughts for Kelly, we will print those out and make sure that she gets those. Second item, and this does tie in with Kelly leaving, with continuing growth at Utopia and UIA, it's become abundantly clear that we need more focus and assistance in our accounting department on our processes and systems, and also with the financial reporting. Our current controller is assuming the role of treasurer, and we have posted an opening for a controller. We're hoping to find someone with extensive governmental accounting experience and or experience with Microsoft Dynamics GP. A combination of the two would be amazing. We have interviews going on this week, and we're hoping to hire later this month. The idea is that this person would work very closely with Kelly, take over the things that she has been doing, and help us either automate those processes or delegate them to another accounting and finance staff person. So their role right off of the bat will make sure that we follow through on all of the many, many things that Kelly was doing for us. I can report that the audit is not complete yet. It is still underway. It's going smoothly. We expect a report to be issued before December 31, so we'll bring that to you in February. We'll send it out to the board as soon as we have it. They have been very thorough this year, which I appreciate. We don't expect anything other than a clean opinion. So I reported, I believe, on the anticipated June 30th, 20 year-end results a couple of meetings ago, probably in October. That hasn't changed much. Utopia pretty much covers its operating costs, and then the additional expenses are interest expense. To jump into, let me share my screen. Okay, the current financials for Utopia. The column on the left is the budget for fiscal year 2021. The column in the middle is year to date, November 30th, 2020. That's 5 months into the year, which is equivalent to 42% of the budget year having been completed. Percentage of budget for revenues, we are at 39%. Our access fees are coming in strongly. Our recurring revenues, 43%. A little bit down in interest. I think honestly that might be that we just haven't, there may be some entries missing. And then also with interest revenue, that is adjusted as we have some of the cues from, wait a minute, we don't have cues in Utopia. Regardless, we are at 39% of revenue. There is no reason to be concerned that we won't make our revenue numbers, especially with the strength here in the access fees. With expenditures, we are currently at 35% of budget. The salaries, wages, and benefits is at 36%. So you can see that there is room for the retroactive increases and the increases going forward. Our insurance increase, we budgeted for 10%. The actual insurance increase was only 4%. And all of our other categories are doing fine. Does anybody have any questions on the 11/20, 11/30, 2020 financials for Utopia?
Yeah, just to lead out with one question, then there may be others, Laurie. On the IRU payment, it looks like it's showing as not having been recorded or transferred yet. Is that normal? Do we normally do that timing-wise this way?
Yeah, that is normal. The IRU has been paid in full by UIA, and so there is not additional cash that's coming into Utopia for that IRU. It's basically a book entry at the end of the year. We could record it. We could show that month to month, but it reduces the note receivable from, or the deferred revenue from Utopia, and it's a book entry. The cash has already been received by Utopia.
Okay, thanks, Laurie. Anybody else have other questions?
Okay.
I've got one, Wayne, if no one else does.
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Just, first of all, I'd like to just have you guys express, Roger expressed to Kelly how thankful we are for her time at Utopia. She has been an awesome employee. And I guess my question would be, is the retroactive pay that we just approved for the employees, will that extend to her as well?
It's a good question.
Sounds like a management decision there, but I'm sure he'd be happy to receive any guidance or thought from the board on that. So that's a good question, Tom. Glad you pointed that out. Go ahead, Roger. Looks like he has something he wants to say.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, this is really for pay for work performed previously. I think we could go either way and say, hey, obviously we don't have to, you know, if she's terminated her employment with us, but she is staying on as a contract help to help us with the transition. So she hasn't really left us, even though her full-time employment has ended. So I think I would err on the side of giving her that payment. It's not a large amount. I mean, it amounts to about 1.5% because it's half a year at 3%. So it's a pretty small amount. I think unless the board objected, I would approve that for her.
Good question, Tom.
To me, it sounds reasonable.
Thank you, Debbie. Okay, other questions or observations? If not, we will move on to Roger's report on the system.
Board Chair Pyle, I do have some graphs that I would like to quickly go through.
Yeah, sorry, Laurie, please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So this is the recurring revenue graph for the combined entities, Utopia and UIA. Utopia is at about 600,000 per month. UIA 1.75, total of almost 2.5 million. This little dip here at the for the month for UIA is nothing to be concerned about. We have ups and downs. Our business revenue is very good. I believe we had a credit for some issues with a business account back here a few months. Overall, our revenues are excellent. We're closing in on $2.5 million per year. This is the combined.
Just a quick comment on that. The signups and like contracted paper revenue has been increasing. It's just the timing of payments as they get accounted for does cause some of those to go up and down. But yeah, there's not anything to be concerned. We are actually having some very strong months, both residentially and business.
Thank you.
That chart will catch up to that. So the next one we show should look really good.
This next chart is the combined UIA and Utopia recurring revenue increase month to month. This is a 12-month moving average. You can see the trend line. Back in 2015, our revenues were increasing month over month by about $10,000 per month. We're now here at the end of calendar year 2020 with our month over month revenue increasing by over $35,000. Again, that's just a little glitch. You can see it jumps around a little bit, but we are comfortably above month over month revenue increases of $35,000 a month. And then this final graph is a UIA graph. We've talked a little bit about the bonds that are being issued. UIA month over month revenue is almost $1.8 million. And then these markers along the side. If you start down here, this is the Series 2017 UIA debt. This is adding the debt service for the Series 2018 bond and the latent bond. So we are making payments on all of those. These dashed lines up above are the additional bonds. We're still making debt service out of the capitalized interest for those issuances. You have Morgan, Payson, Clearfield, and then this jump is for the UIA Series 2019 bond, the $48 million bond that was issued by UIA last year. This is the Clearfield bond, and once the Series 2021 bonds are issued, our monthly debt service will be at $1.4 million per year. So if you draw a diagonal line down this increase in debt service, you can see how closely it parallels the growing revenue at UIA.
And we've actually expedited that because we've had the revenue capacity. So I think if you remember this final build out phase, we had originally planned on 3 bonds. This is obviously UIA. But we've been able to bump those into 2 larger ones and stay ahead of the schedule because the performance has been really good from a revenue perspective. So this is really the last big bond to finish out all the remaining areas of the Utopia cities. We'll have some probably incremental bonds after that to handle growth in the cities. You guys keep allowing new homes to get built, and more people keep signing up, and those things cost money, but they result in revenue. So it's a good problem to have. But as far as a big $50 million type bond for build out of new neighborhoods, this is the last one, and then we may have some city partnerships, but those come with their own backstops from those cities. So where the revenue growth has grown aggressively and the debt obligations have grown with that, what we'd expect is after this, the debt obligations trail off and flatten. And if we can continue the growth on the revenue side of things, things get very interesting from our ability to, start taking significant portions of those Utopia debt obligations at Utopia/UIA. We've got to figure out the right mechanisms to get money between the two. But things are looking very, very good. I think we had said that at the build out of the network, we were hoping to have something like a 30%, be able to take on something like 30% of the Utopia debt obligations and then grow that incrementally after that. I don't know that we'll be so far off from that, except that we will hit it sooner than we thought. So we'll get this build out finished probably in about a year to year and a half. I'll say 2 years to protect us on any permits or anything that may push things out. But as we finalize and close on this UIA bond, we'll be revising the schedule. And fortunately, I'll be pulling in dates. You probably have people saying, why are people in my neighborhood building stuff? It doesn't say we're going to have service in my neighborhood for 2 or 3 years. And the reality is we are, in fact, ahead of schedule on those builds. But we don't want to officially change that schedule till we close on the bond. So then we'll tighten those up.
I do want to mention when I pushed the button a little too quickly last night, these little markers on the right, I had an error in one of them. So I am going to send all of you the corrected graphs so that you can use them for your council meetings should you so desire.
Okay, very good. Does that finish your report, Laurie?
That finishes my report, Wayne.
Okay, thank you. And we will hand the time over to Roger for his update on the network.
Okay, Laurie, can you stop your screen share? Oh, there we go. Okay, let me share some charts here. This is one of my more favorite spreadsheets. Let me get to the right page here, though. So this is our take rate. This is total. Usually we do residential from a take rate perspective. So I'm flipping over to our residential numbers. I'll send this report out. We've been sending this out, but I'm a little late this month. I apologize for that. But the main point is that these take rates are phenomenal. All of our projects where we finished the city build out have exceeded where we need them to be to break even on what we see as a sustainable project moving forward. And obviously we wish we could go back in time and maybe recover some costs or something like that, but it is what it is. But at least moving forward, we've been doing very, very well and getting good take rates. Now you say, well, wait a second, some of these are below like a 35% threshold. Well, we're only in those areas where we have been significantly building new areas. So those are areas where we haven't had the 2 years to really market and sign people up. So Layton, from a financial perspective, done very well. It's trending towards about a 45% take rate, but we have areas in that city that haven't had as long for signups to happen. Same thing in these other cities. Payson is one that we're actively building out right now. Murray, we've just added some new area in Murray, and we're building that out. Orem, we're rapidly building out. West Valley City has seen the most recent build out. We've released a lot of area in there. So it seems like a really low take rate, but from an actual subscriber numbers signing up, that's been very, very good. And so let me just kind of show you the charts on here. So you can see on here, this is the actual quantity of customers growing in each city. And even though West Valley City has a low take rate because of that rapid growth, the number of customers in West Valley has grown very, very rapidly. It's just a really big city. It probably will get up here and compete with Layton and Orem after not a lot more time, just because it is a big city. So things have gone really well. We've released a lot of area recently. You may, if you're following us on social media, you'll see those posts. We have a lot more in the queue that's in pretty late stages of completion and testing, and so we'll have several thousand more addresses probably in the next few weeks that get released for signups, and the last couple of weeks we had several thousand. So we are building faster than we ever have, and adding customers. I mean, this growth chart is amazing. We'd hoped to get about 7,000 customers this year as our best year ever, and we're going to exceed 10,000. So it's really been good. So anyways, I send these reports out to board members. If you're not getting these, please let me know. You'll say, well, wait, I haven't seen this one yet, and that's my fault. So I will get this out hopefully later today, and you'll have that. And we'll be exceeding 35,000 total customers by the end of the year, which is pretty amazing. You know, it took us many years to get to that first 10,000, and we're adding more than 10,000 just this year, and crossing that 35,000 threshold. So a lot of really good progress has been made, and we're wrapping out this original build, and we've got several additional city partnerships talking to us about expansion. We don't usually talk about them specifically. We don't like to attract negative attention to those, but you know, really good potential benefit with those that are basically a mutually beneficial arrangement with those new city partnerships. So we do get revenue for those, and they get a good, reliable partner in partnering with Utopia. So
Roger,
that's what I've got for that.
Roger, this is Kane. Do you have a combined take rate through the whole network average?
Yes, I can pull that up here. Let's see. Let me reshare the screen. Find the right window. There we go. So on our total data, we usually report take rate residentially for the whole network. So across the board, we're at a 31.35% take rate. So that's 96,500 addresses residentially where you can get service, and there's 30,268 that have signed up for services. If you do bring in the business addresses, it lowers the take rate a little bit, but if the overall quantity of customers is there, and that's where we've got the 122,000 addresses where you can get services, 34,618 that can get there that have the service today. You know, if you look at that trend, you know, we'll definitely exceed that 35,000 number, like I mentioned. But business revenue is a little different. You know, we'll have one business customer, maybe a couple $1,000s a month, whereas another one may be 80. So we track businesses a little differently. It's more on a revenue basis than it is a quantity. So anyways, lots of spreadsheet numbers in that, but I'll send you all the charts that give you kind of a city by city look, and you'll have those available to reference. So, but
Thank you.
That's what we got from a network update. Things are going really well.
Very good. Other questions for Roger on the network update?
Hey, Roger, just a comment, kind of on a personal note, actually, the fiber was installed in my own neighborhood over this summer, and there was quite a buzz in the neighborhood. I got a lot of thank you, it's about time, you know, kind of a thing. And it was just lit up just a couple of weeks ago. So for the first time ever, I now have the option to subscribe to Utopia. However, I don't know how many are in the same boat. I mean, I've got a commitment till August with the current provider, so I'm assuming that's pretty common when you light up a new area that you have a lag for new customers coming on.
Yeah, it's a good part of why we plan a 2-year marketing and sales period before we consider it completed, because yeah, when we make it available, a lot of people are under contract and can't immediately switch. So we got to kind of time them out of their contracts. But that's fine, and it's expected. But so that we'll expect your sign up. What was that? August 1st? I don't know. I mean, it may be worth looking at your cancellation fees. You may be better off. I don't know. So, but yeah, that is a common occurrence, unfortunately. it's one of the things people like most about Utopia is we don't have early termination fees. We've gotten rid of those, and people can come on month to month and cancel. And at first we saw that as a potential risk, but the reality is the service is so good, and it's people sign up and they stick with it, and it's been really good. And despite having no strings attached and long-term contracts, our churn rate is extremely low. It's kind of about 3%, which is far below industry standard of about 10. So we're very happy with that flexibility. But unfortunately, the other guys don't have that flexibility. It's just one more reason to resent them and switch over to Utopia when you can.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mayor Camp. Congratulations on the network coming to your neighborhood. And with that, are there any other questions on the network update? All right, if not, then we have one final item on the agenda, which is to adjourn. Any final comments before we adjourn? I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season. Hope you all enjoy. That's been a banner year for Utopia. I kind of hesitated because that almost seems like a little bit of understatement. It probably realistically is the banner year that we've had here in the organization. So thanks to Roger and all the employees and staff, and thanks to all of you at the cities for your support and participation. And with that, if there are no other comments, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Debbie. And we have a second. All in favor of adjourning our meeting? Aye.
Aye.
Happy holidays,
Hey,
everyone.
thank you.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Thanks.
Christmas, everyone.